Hello my G's, how to get more shows. I had this little idea for a video. I was on the plane back from Egypt last night, and yes, thank you, I had a wonderful holiday, just a week in Marsa Alam in a resort, and there was an all-inclusive buffet and I absolutely smashed it, and I thought I might potentially get food poisoning or a bug, and I did. Luckily it was towards the end of the holiday, but I was throwing up for a whole day. It was rough. I'm still a bit shaky, but I'm pretty much over it now. But anyway, great to be back in Berlin. And yeah, so how can you get more shows? My channel here on YouTube is mostly about music production and improving your skills as a music producer. And for me, that is the best way that you will get shows and more. You'll get like much more benefits if you are not only a great DJ and performer, but also a great producer. So I think the producers like are just they have the most. It's just the highest reward, you know, if you can become a great producer. If you think of a of a festival lineup or something, and you see someone on there, like Justin Hawkes, for example, springs to mind. You're not really going to bat an eye that he's on the lineup because his music is like so epic and unbelievable that you're just like, yeah, sure, fair play. Of course, you're like on the big lineup, you know. But there's also a lot of other DJs on like lineups who you might not have heard, or they're not necessarily like great producers, but they're just like in the industry, so they've got like a direct line into shows because they're already in the industry, you know. So this is just my personal opinion and from my experience. So there's kind of like two ways in. It's like you either know people directly in the industry that can get you shows, or you just become such a great producer that people just have to book you because your music's so great, you know. And it's a bit of a shame because there's also loads and loads of producers who are like absolutely unbelievable, but they just haven't been noticed yet, or they haven't been picked up yet, or the industry is just so saturated and there's such a lot of gatekeepers that that even those producers who are in some cases like miles better than anyone else on that particular lineup, for example, of an event, but they're not getting the shows. That's just yeah, that's part of the unfairness of the music industry, which obviously does exist. It's not a fair industry at all. So how can we combat this though, and how can we get more shows? Well, firstly, you need to have a more long-term perspective on getting shows, because that you can actually, if you're really humble and patient, you can get to a point where perhaps a little bit later down the line you're getting all the shows that you want, but right now you're focused on your training. You're just really knuckling down on, you know, making a catalogue of music, and that's something that will last for the test of time, and it will last forever. And you know, you can have like one show here and one show there, and yeah, sure, you'll maybe get like some a nice bit of pay, or a little bit depending. You might get like a great experience for that night, and yeah, but essentially, you know, realistically, that show is just a one-off thing anyway, and it's not going to last forever. Whereas if you were building a catalogue of music, which I recommend, and that's what my channel is really geared towards, aimed towards gearing you guys up to do that kind of stuff that's sustainable long term. Sound like a green party out in the woods talking about sustainable production development. And yeah, so I think that even if you're, like I said, even if you're an amazing producer and maybe you've got some direct lines into the industry, a lot of times that's still not going to get you shows, just because everyone wants shows and it's really difficult to get them. But that doesn't mean it's not going to happen at any point in the future. It just means that right now it might not be happening, you know. So there's like seasons for when you're going to be like playing shows in your life, and seasons for when you're not, and that's absolutely fine and great. But how can you get more shows? Firstly, you need to zoom out and be okay with the fact that you might not get all the shows that you want right now, right at this very moment. You might have even released like a really successful track, maybe even got onto UKF, you know, and you're thinking, what more do I need to do? Like, I have such a successful release already. I'm still not getting enough shows, or not any, or like not as many as I was hoping for. What more can I do? Well, the thing is it just isn't particularly the right time for you yet, but that's not to put you off, that's to test you in your endurance capability. So when you can focus on things that are long term, like building a catalogue of great music, training yourself to become a better producer week by week, getting slowly better, just keep pushing forward, keep up your output, keep up your workflow. You know, take a few weeks off here and there when you need to refresh and get new ideas. But on a long-term perspective, you will get more shows at some point, just might not be right now. But yeah, the two main ways, of course, to actually get the more shows would be, number one, obviously to have such a great sound and just great music that it's just difficult not to want to see you on the lineup, you know. So just really work on your sound as hard as you can, and secondly, do build those connections within the industry if you can. So it's not always easy, and you don't want to, you know, be desperate and asking people desperately for shows, because that's what everyone is doing, you know, that's what everyone wants. So there's no point you know, trying really hard for something that's just not quite working, you know. So to get more shows, keep it in mind that it should be a long-term goal, and that it goes in seasons. So you might not necessarily have loads now, but you will have some in the future, as long as you keep pressing on and don't ever give up. That's the number one thing that you absolutely must not ever do, is get to a point where you feel so demotivated that you think you've got to just throw in the towel. Okay, because that's the most that is the number one way that you will sabotage your production journey, is when you're not getting the results you want at the moment, and you've kept trying and you're still not getting the results, and then you decide to throw in the towel. That's disaster. You should never do that. I see it all the time. It's a real shame, because there's nothing really to lose by consistently going for it for as long as you're alive. You know, there's not really anything to lose, because, you know, as long as you're not out on the streets and you've actually got an income and you can support yourself, put a roof over your head, get some food in the fridge. Once you've done that, what else are you doing realistically? You're going to throw in the towel so you can watch Netflix, or you're going to throw in the towel so you can play Call of Duty, or you're going to throw in the towel so you can get high. What are you going to do instead of going for it, essentially? Because you should always be going for it, and you should always be knowing that things will always turn around, and it'll be usually just in those moments when you think you've come to the end of your road, but you've decided to keep pushing and keep going with that last bit of strength and energy that you found within yourself. You really dig deep, and you get that motivation to keep going no matter what. It's usually in those moments when you'll get the next breakthrough. So breakthrough is always around the corner, and it's a dirty trick that always happens when you're not getting breakthrough for so long, and you are just so fed up and you just want to give it all up. And it's in those moments when you know, people are made or broken. The ones who are made are the ones who will continue regardless, no matter what, and just keep the faith and keep doing it because they love it. You know, that's why if you love making music, you're going to have the bigger advantage, because you're going to be able to go for longer. If you're one of these people who just wants to be famous, play shows just to be up there in front of a crowd and look cool on Instagram, but you don't really love making music, you're not really going to have as much of a chance as someone who just loves making music and is just constantly doing it anyway. Because they'll you know, you will, like a war of attrition, you will grind them down if you have a genuine love for producing. So keep the producing as the focus, okay? Build industry connections on the side if you can, you know, but things will come to you naturally as well. But what you can control, even if you don't have the shows that you want coming in yet, what you can always control is yourself. You can always control your discipline. You can always put in time into your music, you know, release music by yourself if you want, or with a label. Improve your sound. Take some production lessons with me if you want. I'll help you level up a little bit more to that next level. Do some sound design sessions, you know. Go travel, record some sounds. Like, just keep always the focus on improving your sound, building a collection of sounds, making epic music. And this is something that you have the control of, you know. Cut out some of the things in your life that are not serving you as well. Cut out any people who don't need to be in your life, that are not like you know, close, like family or really important people in your life. But if there's some people in your life who are just negative towards your goals, just cut them out. It's not really that hard. They're not obviously a real friend if they're negative towards your goals, so just get rid of them. And same with like habits, yeah, things that are holding you back, things that are eating up your day-to-day life, day-to-day time. I sold my Xbox years ago. I haven't played video games for like 7 or 8 years or something. I love video games, bro. Or sis, depending who's watching. I love video games, man. I love playing Call of Duty. I love Halo. I love shooting games, man. It's epic, but it's never gonna get me my dream goal, my dream happiness, you know. It's like, I always think, like, why focus on a character in a video game when I should be focusing on the main character in my life, which is me, you know. And so cutting out some of those things that, you know, yes, they give you great dopamine release, but what about that just never-ending satisfaction later in life when you look back and you think, bloody hell, look at all that stuff I accomplished, you know, and thank God I got rid of all this bollocks that wasn't serving me and focused on actually leveling up myself, you know. So just to wrap it up, how to get more shows. Think about it in the long term. Don't worry if you're not getting them now. Keep grinding on your music. Aim to become the best producer you can be, because that is going to be much more beneficial than just someone who has, you know, happens to have industry connections to get gigs, you know, because you actually have releases and like great music that people can enjoy as well as getting shows. So strive to be a great producer, work hard, and be patient. Never give up. Peace out, my G's. Have a great day.